Right, how you doing? My name's Electric Johnny Hat. Second video this morning. First one I done in the girls' room because guy drilling outside, but that's done. So he stopped drilling for the moment. I guarantee you the guy's going to start drilling as soon as I start talking again. Yeah, so I've done one video. I was going to jump onto the next one, which is the Akashic records again. Going over the brain state, talk about fungus as well, the fungus networks, which runs through consciousness as well. Consciousness runs through the fungus. So consciousness uses fungus as a network to travel through this network. Yeah, and it's an interesting story that, what was his name? Is it Paul Statements? Sorry, he said his name on there. Well, Paul's Statements talked about fungus going through a network, how the Japanese used it to build its own kind of network system, railway system for using fungus. Fucking nuts, man. And talking about the Tower of Babel, I'll tell you, let's just quickly talk about the Tower of Babel now. Right, the Tower of Babel, well, what did they say the Tower of Babel was? Originally in the Middle East. Well, they said that the Tower of Babel, that the ancients built a tower, that basically like an ancient structure, that when, and this is the story that was put out, I don't believe this story, they said that the ancients built this tower to basically reach the stars, reach God, because they wanted to find out what was going on. I don't know, I'm sure there could be other fairy tales of people saying, oh no, actually they built it to try and reach the dome. Do you know what I mean? Which there's no proof of either, to be honest with you. Not that we can prove. I mean, do I believe in a dome? I do, yeah. But I can't prove it, so I can't say it's factual. I'm never going to say it's factual. Absolutely not. So yeah, they said that the ancients have built the story, you know, the historian story of the Tower of Babel. They built this Tower of Babel so they could reach God himself, or the creator. Well anyway, the TikTok crew's out there. I mean, I don't watch TikTok anymore, but you see a lot of TikTok videos that get posted on social media, other social media platforms. I mean, I still listen to Facebook, not into Instagram anymore because it's gone shit. But anyway, you find some of the TikTok videos that always find themselves over on Facebook. And basically the TikTok crews are now using, or talking about the Tower of Babel as being some kind of telekinesis. Right, okay, so where's your proof of that? They're pushing out this story heavily. It's funny when they talk about, on TikTok, they're allowed to put all these kind of stories out. If I put out videos on TikTok, I mean, I've been closed down 6 times now. I'm not about to go to TikTok. But if I started talking about telekinesis over there, they'd shut it down. They'd flag it. Yeah, well, they'd strike it. Someone would strike it. Probably TikTok itself would strike it. So people like me are not allowed to talk about telekinesis in a certain way, or what telekinesis actually is. But it's okay for the TikTok crew that are being paid to do this, you know, because TikTok wanted me to go over and do the same thing, and I refused. Flat out refuse. Fuck off, not interested. But TikTok allowed to have these people, they pay these people to come on, they wanted me to be one of these people, to come on and tell lies. So they're now saying that the Tower of Babel is to do with telekinesis. You watch me saying this morning, I guarantee there's a lot of other researchers out there that will jump in and do the same thing. Because that's what they do. I've actually put out, like, you know, fantasy stories before, and I've put it as fantasy. And yet these other researchers jump on it and use it as factual information. Do you know what I mean? It's just bullshit, isn't it? That's compulsive lying. Can't do that. You've got to be truthful. You want to be into this truthful game, don't be another Whitsitt, you know, or another Duran. Don't be another David Weiss, you know, or Hibbler. Don't be all these people that just go on to try and take people off the public. You know what I mean? It's not the way. If you're going to do something, do it for free. That's why I say it. Do it for fucking free. I've got no money to make. I'm not here to make money. Got my own fucking money. You know what I mean? But, you know, the point of what I'm saying is that TikTok are allowing these TikTok crews now to go on and use the Tower of Babel as some kind of telekinesis. That's, you know, telekinesis, telepathy. So they're basically saying, you know, look, telepathy in general, I believe that we have something that's been cut off that stopped from the ancients, whether they did a long time ago that the ancients did use it, telepathy in some kind of way. We know animals use it, mammals and all that all use telepathy, telekinesis. But to stand up and say that humans can do it now, I've got no proof of that. I've got no proof of them doing it in the past. Do you know what I mean? And I'm certainly not going to stand up here and say that I think the Tower of Babel is being put into the Tower of Bullshit by saying it's the Tower of Telekinesis. Bullshit. I'm not believing a word of that. That's like saying about the pyramids, what they're saying about the pyramids. All bullshit. No, I mean, nothing's been dug up, nothing's been proven. How the hell can you prove? How do we even know that the Tower of Babel was real in the first place? But all we're going to buy is a couple of fucking pictures. Do you know what I mean? A couple of pictures in an ancient book. It could have just been a standard building that was being built. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. So what are my thoughts on telekinesis and the Tower of Babel? Well, it's complete rubbish, isn't it? They've got no way of proving that. No way. Telekinesis has not fully been worked out yet. Absolutely not. It's been worked out, through animals and mammals. Absolutely. We know that happens with them. It's been proven that they can do that. Even insects and things like that all work on a collective of telekinesis. Wolves, we all know, tigers, the thought of being stared at yourself. So the only way we can, and that's why I said about Rupert Sheldrake's work, and I will do that talk again, an up-to-date version of that. I'm saying done it for a few years now, a couple of years now. But I will do another one on it. Do you know what I mean? But it's proven, wolves and tigers and even ourselves, we know when we're being stared at. So if you're on one side of the street, I don't really want to go into this now, but as we're talking about telekinesis, you could be standing on the other side of the street and you're just standing there and all of a sudden you can feel someone staring at you behind you. Someone's literally staring at you and you just think, well, someone's staring at me, I can feel it. You turn around and, look surprised by someone staring at you. Well, that's all down to the DNA projection. That's the DNA projection of the aura. So this is why I've been going into that kind of research of the aura, DNA projecting. And I've done a lot of explanations on this already, about, and I even done some DNA information through Dan Winter about the, the X at the top of the brain. And they're saying that Elon Musk wants to cut off the top of the skull and then connect these tubules to your nervous system through the pineal gland. You know what I mean? Yeah. But telekinesis, the way that I think that we've got some kind of telekinesis, like us humans, is only through the thought of being stared at, you know what I mean? And the aura itself. So the X that runs on the torus field of our body that comes out and has an X that literally has an X that runs across the middle of the torus field itself, which actually is shown as a depiction in the brain itself. And I've showed loads of stuff of that. So that's the only way I can see that telekinesis can actually work is through the DNA projecting itself. And like I said, collectively you can go into a church, a coliseum, stadiums, whatever, and the vibrations itself from the pillars is picking up, the pillars itself are picking up vibrations from the DNA. So the DNA projecting and collectively, all their DNA projecting of auras, torus fields are all joining together. And if you do come away from, and when it happens, when you come away, it's been documented in the past as well that you can see a huge torus field actually coming out of the stadium or the church. Do you know what I mean? Through the collective of the other people's auras that are projected together, which is why I say DNA projecting. So the DNA projecting is your DNA, which is coming out through the torus field itself. That is the DNA projecting. For anybody who didn't know about that, So that's the only thing I've been looking into is the DNA projecting through the telekinesis, and that's what I was looking at, and these are the points that I was trying to make through telepathy itself, just through the DNA projecting of the aura, the torus field, the human torus field, which we all have. And the risk of repeating myself, said about the vaccines and stuff like that, yeah. About they didn't want anybody being standing close to each other because of the same reason, Can't be sharing, you can't be DNA projecting, the powers don't want you DNA projecting, which is all, a future thing for, astral projecting and stuff like that. Yeah, so yeah, the Tower of Babel, the TikTok crew are now using telekinesis or using the tower, saying that the Tower of Babel is some kind of telepathy tower. Can't prove anything like that. You cannot prove anything to do with that. Right, so where was we going? So I've written a load of stuff down this morning. So back to the Akashic Records, the data system. Yep, so let's get going. The cosmic database. Right, the Akashic Records, the cosmic database. The database realm that is outside of what we call time, Data that is stored from our past, future and present. It's the living energy of the Akashic Records. It's the Akashic Records, just a data bank, data thing that is being, that we extract from. Because like I said, we are all basically a mobile phone. Each one of us is a mobile phone, which just puts us down to being an aperture to the main frame. Now, if you're into the concave Earth and the black sun, I think that the Akashic Records, the Akashic Records itself, which we call the only alien presence here, the only alien spaceship here, really is the black sun. The black sun that holds the consciousness, or what we think or believe to be the black sun. So if you're into the concave Earth, you are the mobile. Each one is a mobile phone connected from our neuro points of our brain, on our brain, that are connected to the stars itself. So the stars hit down to each one of us on that mobile phone. So the data that is stored from our past, future and present, a living energy field, which is the Akashic Records. The data system, the energy field, it cannot be seen, can't see it, it's invisible, but it's there, and it's allowing us to collect data wirelessly like a mobile phone. And that's why, like I said, we're an aperture. There's no getting away from it. We're an aperture and we're using data. We have a subconscious mind and a subconscious mind and a conscious mind. Subconscious that takes all data in ever since you was a child, and it has been kind of talked about. I wouldn't say linked. I mean, I've said assumptions, speculation about these kind of things as well. That we are sort of connected in that way. So a living energy field cannot be seen. It cannot be seen, but it's there. Only be tipped into the right frequency. So you hit the right frequency, just like a mobile phone and stuff like for wireless. For using wireless technology, we are just that wireless technology of the mobile phone that is connected to the stars itself, i.e. like, if you want to call it, the black sun. Like I've always said, I've been through the flat earth, the concave earth, spinning ball. I'm still working on the concave earth, but I put shitloads of information out last year. Pretty much all last year I put constant information to do with the black sun and the concave earth. I've done so much of that anyway, but like I've always said, go through all my videos, all my past videos, all my talks that I've said, what I've done, and I've said every single time, firstly, I'm into quantum physics. That's what I believe in. I believe in the observation effect, and that's catching the wave, catching the photon. So it's the fault of seeing things and then manifesting itself. Everything stays in a waveform until it's looked at. Once you look at it, it goes from a waveform into a projection, but it stays a projection until you go up and you touch it. So this cup as a projection stays on a waveform until I go up and touch it, and then it becomes a solid matter. But as soon as I put the cup down and I look away from it, it goes back to the waveform again. I won't turn back into physical matter until I grab and touch it. It's quantum physics. So I believe in quantum physics. Deep down, that's what I've always said. And I always said to you, we can find a shape to the earth on the way, all good. I always said, I don't personally believe there's a shape. Absolutely not. And the more and more I looked into quantum physics and the Akashic Records and the data system and some part of telekinesis and telepathy, that there's no shape to this earth. You personally are the aperture, but you, the one aperture, billions of us, you can say, each one person, each billion, every single one of us is like a mobile phone. And it's quite ironic that we carry a mobile phone with us anyway. So our brain is linked to the mobile phone. The mobile phone is doing a lot more than what we can comprehend. But I think as future technologies and algorithms and AI systems that we're all learning about, then we get to learn more about the Wi-Fi connection of us being the aperture to the stars and the mainframe. But I don't believe there's a shape. Like I said, I don't believe there's a shape. Right. So, well, I just had that main page. Let's go back. Right. So where was we? So the Akashic records cannot be seen. It's based on a frequency. You tap onto this frequency, you can catch onto it and collect the data. We have a subconscious mind where the data is taken in. So we basically have an external hard drive. It's an internal but external hard drive, because when I say external means outside, but just another thing on the outside, which is actually on the inner space, sort of, if you want to look at it that way. Where it's an empty sort of data machine that collects. So it's that data system that collects. And we've had collections. How big is the subconscious mind? I believe it's infinite. It can take in a lot more. Do you know what I mean? Because it literally takes in a whole lifetime of people's thoughts and information. So, you know, from when I was a kid, what can I remember when I was a kid? I can remember when I was 5 or 6. Can't remember before that. But 5 or 6, 7, 8, I can remember all them times. So I've got little bits of information that's still in the subconscious mind. If I was hypnotised, I could probably go a lot deeper and go a lot further back. But everything goes through this frequency of connecting to the Akashic records, the data system. That can be tipped into the right frequency. Can be forced entry. So it can be forced entry, so to speak, by practicing certain parts of black magic. Now, let's talk about black magic. I've been getting into black magic, but I've been into black magic for the last 3 years now. But I'm not into doing black magic. Like I said, I'm not into that. Absolutely not. I'm just into the, into the technology of how it's being used. And like I say, for me, and there was a lot of bad black magic, and there's good black magic. You know, Kurt Metzger seems to come on and say that everything's bad with black magic. But he's the one that, you know, he's talking a lot about black magic itself. Do you know what I mean? But no, Bert, I don't agree with you. I don't believe it's all bad. He's saying that, you know, oh, why are you talking about David Bowie and that when David Bowie was doing this and doing that? And he's, well, you know, in them times they've done a lot of stuff. But they also got into black magic and done the good side of black magic as well. Prove it, otherwise, if you're going to sell these claims, then you need to prove them, Kurt Metzger. Because not even Joe Rogan agrees with you. Sorry, mate. So, you know, some things you can't prove. You just want to keep spurting out that rubbish all the time. I don't agree with you. I really don't. By practice, so, you know, there's some black magic that is bad that they do. They also include, you know, involving children and stuff like that, which, you know, I don't even research that stuff. I'm not into that stuff. I'm into the good side of black magic. And that is basically doing black magic and creating things to manifest things through black magic and the data system itself. You know, like I say, you can. Well, no, let's just read out this bit first. By practicing certain black magic, connecting the book of life. The whole book of life is just the collection of data from the data system of the Akashic records. So the book of life literally is the Akashic records, because the book of life, the Akashic records is the book of life that throws all this information of data to your subconscious. So it's basically related as the book of life. A huge web database. Remember, we are like a mobile phone. We're actually connected to this frequency realm of consciousness. If what we perceive aliens to be can simply be the entity that runs all consciousness itself. Because everyone keeps going on about, there's aliens here, there's aliens there, there's aliens everywhere. Well, no, nothing's been proven. Anything that gets manifested through the connection of the database and data system, through the electrical points of your the neuro points of your brain that are connected to the stars, which means now the internal is connected to the external. So now your internal is actually running the external itself. So enabled to manifest stuff actually into the external, not to outer space, into low orbit, that can be manifested in. Guy's drilling again. I can't believe it, man. Yeah, so basically connecting there to the actual main system itself, and then you can manifest stuff into the atmosphere itself. Just because you manifest this stuff doesn't mean that other people are going to be able to see it. Because this is stuff that goes through your own consciousness, mind or subconscious. You know what I mean? Well, I'm going to have to go into the other room. I can't stand this drilling outside. Well, just carrying on there. I was in my room, but there's someone outside drilling, so I've had to just come back into this room again. Right, so how far do we get? So connecting the Book of Life, I'd say the Book of Life basically is just it's basically the Akashic Records itself, because that's what the Akashic Records, known as the Book of Life, it's actually just feeding stuff into your subconscious mind from the Akashic Records. The data system, a huge web database. Remember, we are the mobile phone that is wirelessly connected to the frequency realm, the frequency realm of consciousness. Because in order to use this consciousness, or the consciousness that's been pushed into us, has to be pushed into wirelessly or from frequency. So frequency based is taking consciousness or consciousness being pushed into of a frequency through the Akashic Records itself, but everything has to run through consciousness. But remember, consciousness, it doesn't run you, it doesn't rule you. You've got your brain there to work things out. So all consciousness does is throw things at you, information at you, like I said, from the Akashic Records. So it's throwing things at you, and it's you yourself through your own brain that's got to work all this stuff out yourself. The brain is the computer to do that. Do you understand? There's frequency of realm of consciousness. If we perceive aliens, as well got to. So if we perceive aliens to be simply that they are just entities that are running the consciousness collectively and wirelessly to each of us of that aperture. Everything has to run on frequency. And we know the ancients run on frequency and stuff like that as well. But don't ever think that consciousness is running you. It's not. You're running yourself. Consciousness is giving you stuff. Consciousness gives you the wave of light of the photon. Consciousness offers you that to you. So now it goes down to you for the observational effect to catch the wave, turn everything from the waveform into the physical matter itself. But you have to do that yourself. So consciousness is not giving you it's giving you options. Like say, collecting the wave is the same as the collection of free will. So consciousness from the data bank, consciousness throws free will, or the voices of free will, into your own head, so you can basically listen to those voices. But now you've got 100 voices all giving you information, or giving you an observation or information, whether you want to take that information or not. That's down to you to do that. But it's being offered to you. It's your brain that works things out itself. So consciousness throws the wave of a photon to you, so you can use the observational effect, and it does exactly the same thing. By throwing the voices of free will to you, and then it's down to you to work out through your own brain which is the best system or best voice to take and to use. Like I said before, you could if some people are quite depressed and they listen to these certain voices of free will in their head, tell them they're a bad person, and some people all their life will just listen to that voice, and it just destroys the whole of their life. When there's other voices, there's other 99 voices that are telling you to do other stuff. Why are you just choosing that one voice and making yourself unhappy? Do you know what I mean? I think Witsit's doing that at the moment. He's just choosing the bad voices all the time, and he's doing bad things. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, I should have really said that. So consciousness of what we perceive aliens to be can simply be the entity that runs all consciousness itself collectively, and wirelessly to the aperture yourself, because that's what you are as an aperture. You're a mobile phone on a wireless system. That's all you are. Stars, the neural points of stars in your brain are connected to the stars in the sky. Sorry, in the external. So the internal is connected to the external, and this is why you can manifest stuff from the atmosphere, which is what Jack Valais used to talk about all the time, about manifesting stuff in the atmosphere over to you. And then you bring it in. But it doesn't mean that other people see what you brought in, because it's brought in through the plasma way. The plasma in the brain, which is the deeper stub of the microtubules that are connected to the nervous system itself, which is connected to the pineal gland. But remember, the only alien ship, the only alien spaceship, the only alien presence here is consciousness. and it is just there to guide you, to help you along. It's not there to rule your life. You have to do that yourself. Right, so neural points of our brain that is connected to the reality of the stars or the external, using us like an individual UFO itself, if you know what I mean. So connecting the rules of the stars that are connected to the neural points of your brain, and now using you as like an aperture of a UFO. Do you know what I mean? If you want to put it that way. Do you know what I mean? So manifesting the thoughts into our brain through the external source to bring in consciousness plasma beings, because everything works on the cascades of the brain. I say the microtubules of the nervous system and the pineal gland. The pineal gland itself. That is all connected through plasma. So plasma through the cascades in the brain, which is all down to a lot of implosion as well. You can follow downwind on the implosions of the cascades in the brain, which is all done through plasma. So plasma in the body, plasma in the brain, connected to the neural points of the brain, connected to the external stars itself, to the plasma in the atmosphere that can now manifest stuff that come over, i.e. UFOs, that you manifest yourself that just come over. And have people say, can you see that? No, I can't see it. How comes I can see it and you can't see it? Because you're the one that manifested it. Yeah. Right, so consciousness plasma beings, i.e. electrical magnetism, through writing your thoughts down in a journal, to then download the thoughts via the Akashic records, to the manifestation for the next day of your virtual screen in itself. So everything is, I said, everything that you do on your day-to-day business, and you're taking in information into the subconscious, and your subconscious, the actual consciousness itself, takes all this and manifests things into your subconscious mind. So even though I've been up this morning for a few hours, consciousness is already taking what I've been thinking about today and working it all out and putting it into the subconscious, ready for when I go to sleep, and then manifest stuff in your dreams, as what I believe what dreams are, manifesting stuff in your dreams to actually do the projections, or your visual virtual projections of the next day. So when you wake up in the morning, you have a whole day set, and it's all been set out through the consciousness that has helped to put stuff into your subconscious mind to now make the visual projection of the waveform that comes out, which you're using your eyes yourself. Remember, your eyes are the screen, and the consciousness pushes this stuff onto this screen. So if you look at it in a way, your screen, and these are your eyes, these are your screen. In a way, I say it's a virtual thing, so it's like taking off the main eyes. So the main eyes are just basically this screen that's here. So imagine these are your eyes, your actual eyeballs, and consciousness projects onto that screen itself. It gives a projection out forward that's basically in front of you. That's what consciousness does. So when you wake up in the morning, tomorrow morning, your day's already been set, visually been set through the projections of what the consciousness did through the collection of data from the Akashic records onto your actual brain itself to now project outside of your own being itself. Probably this has probably got something to do with the aura as well, the DNA projecting. I'm sure it's all the same thing. But as we do more and more research, we get more to the bottom of that sort of information anyway. So downloading the thoughts via the Akashic records to the manifestation for your next day of your virtual screening itself. The screen is your eyes, and the consciousness projections onto your own personal visualizations of self. Once the data system is collected and then projected, you then have the waveform of projection, which I just explained. You have a waveform of projection that stays on the waveform until it has been physically touched by the aperture, which is you. Two forms, wave and physical. The wave that's projected and made into physical, which is taken from the Akashic records, like I said. Now imagine the collective all doing the same, creating a base reality for absolutely everybody. So everything you see, just coming, so projections come from me, and projections coming from everybody else that's around you. These are so-called NPCs, that people call NPCs. I'm sure it goes a hell of a lot deeper than that. That they're projecting stuff on a day-to-day basis as well. And as we cross auras of the 6 meters or 6 feet, as we do cross auras of DNA projecting, and then we're basically passing over information, even though we don't even know we're doing it. It's just automatically happening. So you're sharing data. So someone could walk past you on your 2 different Wi-Fi or 2 different apertures, walking through on the Wi-Fi system connected to the Akashic records, hit each person hitting auras, and then while they're going across each other, the auras connecting and touching each other, you're sharing data that way as well. So it projects onto your own personal visualization of self. Once the data system is collected and then projected, you have a waveform of projection that stays on the waveform until it has been physically touched by the aperture itself, which is you. The 2 forms, the wave and the physical. The wave that's manifested into the physical, which what you do yourself, but always stays on the waveform of a projection until you actually come up and touch it yourself. But as soon as you come away and look away from it, it goes back into a waveform as well. Just goes back into a waveform, which doesn't mean anything to anybody if you don't understand anything, been following this kind of information. So now imagine the collective all doing the same, creating a base reality of a DNA projecting, which allows us to share each other's downloads of projections. Make sense? The brain has 5 different states: beta, alpha, theta, delta, and gamma. Just quickly, I remember a few years ago, I used to argue with Mark Wiseup, and I was talking about gamma states and stuff like that. What I'm talking about right now, but my research is always like a year or 2 in front of other people's, because they clearly haven't reached that step yet. So I used to argue with Mark all the time about gamma rays and stuff like that coming out of the brain, and he just didn't get it. That's why I always said he's controlled opposition, because whatever you do that come out, which is quite true or factual, these people will shut you down because they're working for the main people. So he tried to shut me down by talking about gamma waves. Why would he do that? And then he nicknamed me the Hulk, David Banner. He nicknamed me David Banner for talking about gamma rays. The guy's controlled opposition. And Brian Staveley, remember Brian Staveley? You used to take the piss out of me that as well, didn't you, Brian Staveley? Do you believe in the gamma now, Brian Staveley? If you still follow me, do you now believe in the gamma? Do you? Am I still David Banner that talks about gamma rays? So these people, they take the piss, but they don't understand. They just don't understand, because I'm a lot forward with research than what that they are. And if they disagree with it, they've got no explanation of the disagreement. They can't prove against it objectively. They just can't. Why would you take the piss out of someone talking about gamma waves? It's all connected to the aura, the brain of the aura, which now we do know as the X that's running through the middle of the crossover of the aura itself, the torus field that comes out of the body, the X that sits on the top of the brain through the gamma. So am I wrong, Brian Staveley? No, I'm not, am I? You were wrong to laugh. This is still the same other guy when I started talking about other information that he's now took off and starts doing presentations. Yeah, Brian Staveley has taken my information and done presentations too. Especially stuff on chemtrails. You don't believe in chemtrails now, do you, Brian Staveley? Why don't you? Because I've done the research and I pushed it through the screen and you took that information and then you did a presentation on it. Remember, Brian Staveley? Later, Johnny, that's always right. If you meditate correctly, the brain has 5 different states: beta, alpha, theta, delta, and gamma. If you meditate correctly, then you create a blank mind canvas to project mentally the data of binary code, which you can actually see in your... Sorry, excuse me, one second. Say that again, Mike. This is important, this part. If you meditate correctly, I don't personally meditate, but I've actually sat there before, I wouldn't say in a meditation state, but I had my eyes closed, whether it's sleeping or whatever, and you can see the binary code running down from north to south. You can see it running down. You close your eyes and meditate or think deeply with your eyes closed and you will literally see the data coming down. the binary coding. You can see it. You can. If you ain't seen it, you're not looking properly. If you do the deep meditation states, get into a meditation state, and again you can see the ones and zeros of data, binary code running from north to south in your brain. Sorry, for your third eye, personally, pineal gland, which is all connected to the nervous system. The data has to come down. The data is running from, this is just hypothetical guess, speculation, that the binary coding, where you can actually see it through your third eye when you close your eyes, remember, because your main eye is here, these are just projectors. But if you look closer, you can see the data coming down on a hypothetical. Why are we seeing this binary coding in our own pineal gland when we close our main projectors? Is because this is the binary coding coming from the Akashic records as it's being manifested into your subconscious mind. But that's just a guess. That's just an assumption from me. So if you meditate correctly, you create a blank mind canvas to project mentally the data of binary codes, which you can actually be seen in your pineal gland, just like in the film The Matrix. As the ones and zeros fall from north to south in your own mind's eye, your third eye, the first rule, I'm going to say that again. The data of binary codes, which you can actually be seen in your pineal gland, just like in the film The Matrix, as the ones and zeros of binary codes fall from north to south in your mind's eye, which is your third eye, the pineal gland. The first rule of black magic is to see beyond the black mirror, or water bowl-based frequency, creating the waveforms of black magic. Black magic comes in different forms, and you can push it forward through your DMT, through the DMT creations, which takes you from 0 to 100 in a matter of seconds. So what I'm saying there is, because I said that quite fast. So when you take DMT, I think a DMT, and a lot of people do black magic, good black magic. I mean, you've got a lot of people now that go take ayahuasca, which is exactly the same thing. It's a thing for a healing system of taking ayahuasca, which is just DMT anyway. And why they do it to heal their body, to heal their mind, to heal their traumas, stuff like this. So everybody's doing it. So the first rule of black magic, is to see beyond the black mirror. To see beyond the black mirror, or if you're looking into a bowl of water and looking past the actual frequencies itself of concentric circles, because as we know, if you drop something into water, in a dark bowl, it's going to, well, it has to be what colour bowl, it's going to create concentric circles coming out of wave form. But when you look into that sort of meditation state, like through a black magic meditation state, you have to look beyond the black mirror. So you have to look beyond the waves in that meditational state. So the first rule of black magic is to see beyond the black mirror, or water-based frequency, creating waveforms of black magic, where black magic in different forms, or you can push it forward through the DMT creations, and that's what I'm coming to. So a lot of people go into do ayahuasca, take DMT, to basically go from a 0 to 100 of the high state of consciousness. I think I've done it personally myself as well, where DMT will give you this amazing experience of going onto other dimensions, of what we believe to be other dimensions, and then turn everything from solid matter back into the wave form. That's the only way I can explain it. Because when I said before, when I did DMT, I looked at the floor, sitting in my chair, looked at the floor, and the floor disappeared, went transparent. It basically went into a kind of a wave form. Looked at the walls got of emptied, or like went to jelly into a waveform, and then all of a sudden all these light beams were coming through the walls, which I still see as a point of black magic, a good sign of black magic. But remember, when you do DMT, like I said before, that if you have childhood trauma, that maybe you shouldn't do black magic. Maybe the ayahuasca thing, shouldn't do, DMT as a form of black magic, because I say DMT will open up those doors and gateways of your childhood trauma. If you've got childhood trauma, it will bring them out. Not always, but it can do. So you'll always have to be prepared for that kind of situations to happen. So the first rule of black magic, or taken through DMT, is make sure you've got no childhood trauma, because it can mess you up. And once all that's been taken from the DMT experience will get pushed and locked into the subconscious mind, and it will be locked into the subconscious mind, and it will never come out again. And the only way you can get rid of the bad trauma or the bad entities that you've taken in to cause this kind of trauma, or reborn and re-emerge the trauma that you had through your childhood, is by going to see some kind of, I don't know, what they call them, mediums, decent, really good mediums, or exorcists. And that's what they say, you know, because some people like can be, you hear these stories about people being possessed. Do I believe in that stuff? Yeah, of course. Where people have been possessed by entities, and then they have to go to an exorcist to get it taken out of them. Now, some people can do DMT and bring in bad entities, you know. Don't always think that when you do DMT that you're going to bring in just good entities to repair yourself, because whatever dimensions you're opening, whatever doorways and gateways you're opening, you could quite easily be bringing in bad entity as well. Bad entities, dark forces that could jump into your subconscious mind and stay there for the rest of your life. And the only way to get rid of them and to stop them affecting you on your day-to-day life once you've kind of ingested them, extracted them in, is by going to see an exorcist to basically take them back out again. But, you know, I hear these stories where some people have been possessed and they've taken to some kind of mediums, and they're like, no, we can't touch this. We're not experienced in touching this. You need to go and see an exorcist, you know, to actually draw this stuff back out. Or some other kind of lighter ways you can do it, I said, by being hypnotised, you know, but isn't someone that's an exorcist or actually, isn't it the same kind of thing? In my eyes, it's just the same kind of thing, really. Just learn how to take these entities back out of your body, you know. Yeah, so correct, right. So yeah, the DMT will take you from 0 to 100 in like 5 seconds, and it'll just give you everything. So people that meditate can take them years and years to meditate to a certain higher level of consciousness, but with DMT, get you 0 to 100, 5 seconds, there it is. But it's very scary, like I said before. So it's your choice whether you want to do it. My opinion, I did it on my own. It's not a good thing to do. If you're going to do DMT, do it with friends. So you've got other people there to look after you while you go through that experience, yeah. And if you do freak out, you've got other people to hold you down so you don't hurt yourself. Do you know what I mean? Or jump off the balcony, you know. They sound Tripoli. In a matter of seconds, then dissolves the matter into a waveform. Yeah, so that's what DMT was, for me, was doing, was taking the solid form, solid matter, and turn it into a waveform. And that's what it did. Did it with the floor, opened up into a projection of a wave. Did it the same with the walls, and the DMT entities came in, which just happened to be the Anunnaki and the Heki gods, which were Hawaiian, which is what I saw. Still fucking scary though, man, I tell you. But be warned, the DMT realms will be jumping timelines. But be warned that the DMT realms, or the entities on the DMT realms, will be jumping timelines, and it isn't to be messed around with, as it can leave huge dents in the subconscious mind, which cannot be removed, i.e., through childhood trauma, the source code through childhood trauma. And like I say, you have to get an exorcist to basically get rid of it all after, if you've taken in these bad entities. Or the DMT is basically reenacting your childhood trauma, which I'm sure you don't want, I'm sure nobody wants. So, i.e. childhood trauma. Right, the source code of creation lies within the alien. We call it, some people call it the Black Sun, that has been worshipped by many of the past, which will be Hitler. Sorry. So the source code of creation lies within that, of the alien form that we call the Black Sun, that has been worshipped by many in the past, like Hitler, Aleister Crowley, John Dee, the Vril Societies, ancient druids, royal bloodlines, just to name a few. But how far do they wish to go with this black magic? I'm not just talking about people that, I'm not just talking about, well, I'm actually just talking about black magic. I don't do black magic myself. I'm not into that. The only thing I got close to black magic, like I just explained there, is by doing DMT itself. That was the closest I got to sort of taken into practice by doing black magic, and that's by taking DMT. So I'm just talking about this stuff. I don't do it myself, apart from the DMT that I did. I just like talking about this stuff. I like looking into stuff. Yeah, so just beware if you do DMT that you are going to be opening up Pandora's box. You will open that Pandora's box, and you'll bring all this stuff out of Pandora's box, and they'll be going straight into your subconscious mind, and then it's going to be very, very difficult to get rid of them again. So just be careful. If you do DMT, if you choose to do DMT, that you haven't got too much childhood trauma or went through too much childhood trauma years and years ago when you was a kid. Because one does not want to open Pandora's box, because once Pandora's box has been opened, it's going to be very, very hard to close it again. Yes, the mind can be a scary place if you're not on point with the worships of what you do concerning black magic. Just be careful, I guess. Just be careful. The mind can be a scary place if you're not on point. If you're not on point when you do DMT, or whatever you do to do with your worships, because I know a lot of people out there, you know, like Aleister Crowley and the Real Society Hitler, I think they used to take DMT anyway. We know that Hitler used to, you know, have hallucinations on amphetamine, speed, because he used to have his own personal chemist to give him the speed, and we all know that Hitler gave all his soldiers speed, amphetamines, so they could fight better in war. Fucking scary thought, isn't it? The mind can be a scary place if you're not on point with it. So be on point with your worships or the way you do DMT or take DMT, so you keep yourself well protected, because nobody wants a broken mind. Once you've got a broken mind, it's hard to repair it again after. So just be careful what you do with your worships, or what you do with your whatever kind of black magic you're doing. Obviously, don't touch children. No one needs to be fucking talking about that or doing that shit. We don't do that. There's good black magic out there as well, not just that bad side of that really, really deep stuff that a lot of the people did get into. Because once you see the coding, you cannot unsee the coding. Remember that. Right. Stop that. Right, and one last thing before I go, I want to talk about fungus and the original neural networks. So consciousness seems to use fungus in a certain kind of way as well. Fungus is very intelligent, obviously, because the consciousness is running through the fungus itself onto neural networks. I think we have some kind of, which is all mycelium, basically, mushroom mycelium, fungus. Do we have fungus inside our bodies? I believe we do, yeah. That helps with this consciousness and to run through our nervous system and bloodstream and that as well. I do believe fungus in some kind of way. I can't give you an explanation on that because I haven't done much research on fungus. Just got one page that I've written down here. Fungus and the original neural networks. Fungus is nature's natural neural network, i.e. the original internet. So it's the internet for nature, for the forest, for mushrooms, for mycelium. Fungus is very intelligent because it's used to run consciousness through it. So consciousness is using basically a body in a way of fungus to move around like a vessel. So fungus moves around on with its own consciousness of networks, is moving around, but it's being steered by consciousness. So consciousness is using fungus itself as a vehicle to move around. Crazy, huh? But it's consciousness that does it. But obviously it's the fungus, I'm assuming, because I haven't done much research on this, the fungus itself that has its own kind of brain itself to work things out. Just like we have a brain, we take in consciousness. Consciousness helps our brain to give us options. So I'm sure it can't be no different from fungus moving around as a vehicle and move around using its own brain with the help of consciousness itself to guide or steer the fungus itself. Yeah, so the original internet that is used by nature itself. The oldest decentralized intelligence of consciousness, where consciousness travels through the fungus itself, is extremely intelligent and has been proven to be just that. Some say the fungus is actually travelling through our bodies, an entire microbiome empire. Yeah, I agree with that. Which can dictate our moods, our perception, our cravings, and also is why we locked on as a part of nature itself. What I'm saying is the fungus in our body helps us connect the neural networks to the actual nature itself, you know, like the forest, the woods, whatever. Mushrooms, mycelium. Paul Statements, the mushroom guy, went on to Joe Rogan a few times. Paul Statements once said about fungus and its brain power of consciousness. A slime mould called Physerium polycolarium, which is extremely intelligent of navigation through mazes of salts. The Japanese scientists designed a neutral-like maze to replicate the Japanese subway systems with all the major cities. So the nodes, the points around Tokyo, each node had a piece of oat on the nodes, and which is a source of nutrition. And then let the slime, the mould, then grow at first, and it grew randomly in different directions of exploring. But then after 28 hours of exploring, after taking this oats or coming across the oats itself, the nodes and the oats, of exploring, and then it reorganised itself into the most efficient way possible of reorganising the Japanese subway system itself in a more efficient manner. That has been designed today. The Japanese scientists were so taken aback by what the fungus did and clearly showed the cellular intelligence of the mycelial iceberg. Fungus rules. But you can watch that video on Joe Rogan as well. So yeah, the Japanese used fungus to let it move around and do what it has to do through its own, through intelligence of consciousness, through taking it, and they let it roam around itself, this fungus, until after 28 days the fungus became so intelligent through the consciousness itself that's in the fungus, they actually redesigned the whole fucking London Underground networks in Tokyo. I mean, how fucking mad is that? My name's Electric Johnny Hat. Next time I come back, we'll talk about telekinesis properly. So, yeah. Thanks for listening, yeah? Catch you later.